Well, almost 100 Australian parents will experience one of the worst things possible this year. They'll actually have their children kidnapped, and some of them might never see them again. My next guest is a private investigator who knows about that heartache. He even provided security to Melissa Hawach in Australia last year. This is before the Canadian and her father and a group of former soldiers left for Lebanon to steal back the children. You might have read about that case, and they remain in hiding. Michael Rumore, good morning.
Good morning, Madonna.
Parents must be fairly distraught by the time they get to you.
Oh, indeed. It's a very frustrating exercise, and it's a long legal process. Usually has taken place before they come to us, and it can often be a matter of desperation that brings them to us.
And I guess it doesn't happen often. How often do you get a contact? It wouldn't be your bread and butter. How often is it a result of a child custody battle and you're asked to track down children?
We do custody matters regularly, but the ones that get to this extent, we would entertain a job probably once a year.
So when you say you do custody matters regularly, what might they involve? What's the scope?
The first thing, I'll just a quick correction, just to help the listeners put in perspective what I'm talking about.
Sure.
We actually don't do security. That was incorrectly reported in the press that we provided security services. Ours is as you did correctly introduce. We are private investigators. It's a separate function. So as private investigators, we do surveillance. For example, you might be the custodial parent, and you hand over your two little girls or boys or whatever it might be on a Friday night for access visit to the father, and you might be concerned about what happens to the children when they go to the access parent.
Because you're worried they'll be stolen, or you're worried they might be assaulted?
The ones we're doing more regularly are issues concerning general safety and well-being. Are the children being cared for when they are out of your control? Is he or she dumping the children with friends and family and just going off and having a good time and not even seeing the kids on the access visits? And those sorts of things, so that we do those more regularly.
So how do you go about doing it? Walk me through a hypothetical operation.
Well, it's a matter of surveillance. So we will know the time and place for the handover. We will conduct covert surveillance of that handover. It's perfectly legal. This is what we are licensed to do. And we will then literally follow the group as they go to wherever it is they end up. We will record on video and contemporaneous notes the activities that we observe. This is all, it may be used in evidence. For example, it might be a condition that when the children are picked up, that they are not taken to a particular place, or that they do not associate with a particular person, or do not engage in some activity. And these may be consent orders that the family court has ordered, and we're looking for circumstances contrary to those consent orders.
So you can only conduct surveillance in a public place? What happens when, let's say, it's not always the male, I'm sure, but just say the male takes the children inside the home for the weekend? Do you just call the mum and say, I couldn't do anything, or is there other means of surveillance?
No, you're quite right. I mean, our surveillance is not intrusive. It's a covert operation. It's a sit back. The nature of the beast is it's a sit back and observe. We don't go crashing through doors. We don't peek over fences and look through windows and things like that. It's sit back and see. And often that is all you need.
Do you do paper trails or listen to phone calls?
No, illegal. Not allowed to do that. Certainly in New South Wales, we're not allowed to bug telephone, covertly listen to any conversation. But you are legally allowed to covertly film as distinct to sound. So that's one of the tools that we use.
So what types of questions do you ask a parent when they come to you?
Depending on the circumstances again. So, for example, if we are talking about a matter of international abduction, as we've seen recently, we want to ensure the first thing that's on my mind is who have I got in front of me? Have I got the goodie or the baddie? Let's put it in simple terms. And often you might get a sense that, this person that's in front of me now wanting me to work for them may have less than honourable intentions and may not necessarily be, quote, the goodie.
So do you say no?
We turn jobs down regularly. turn them down regularly, especially when it's involved in the children. We don't want to be seen to be involved in, perhaps the kidnapping of a child, and we've been misled. So getting back to my point about the international matter, there is the Hague Convention that there's been a lot of talk about recently, and if I've got an international client sitting in front of me saying my children have been abducted, I think they're in Australia,
Yes.
and for example they might be, all they need to be is part of a signatory country from under the Hague Convention and have those documents. For example, Melissa, I know, came to Australia with Hawach came to Australia with Hague Convention documents indicating that she was the rightful parent.
So is it legal then for a private investigator to help kidnap a child back? Forgetting that case.
Indeed, to speak generally, of course it's illegal to kidnap a child and be a conspirator to that. So, for my position is as principal of the firm, is to ensure that we have the correct court orders in place.
Yes.
And for example, we will do matters in Australia where the parent is overseas. We think the children are here. The operation is set in place. It's initially a covert operation to try to find evidence of the children here. If we then see the children here and we have the necessary documentation, we will take those children safe in the knowledge that we are authorised to do so, and the documents may even particularise the name of the firm, Rumore and Associates, as agents for X person.
How much does something like this cost?
Well, surveillance. Well, I mean, you might expect. Well, let's say several thousands of dollars. And how long is a piece of string? It could just go on and on and on.
And this is obviously not your bread and butter work. What is the most common reason someone goes to a private investigator?
It's not a simple question to answer. We have many arms. We do criminal defence investigations. If you're charged with a criminal offence and you are pleading your innocence, you may well need investigations done to assist your case for defence. So we do those. We do corporate work following trucks and looking for stolen goods. Whole container loads of stolen electricals we'll be looking for. We do a little bit of domestic work, infidelity, lots of intellectual property. That's trademark work, brand protection.
A very, very interesting job. Michael Rumore, thanks for joining me this morning.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
That's Michael Rumore, a private investigator, talking about how they go about getting children back to the rightful parents and a whole lot more of what private investigators do.